So welcome to this video, and in this video Jenny's going to take you through what you need to do if you're taking a pet dog, a pet cat or a ferret to Ireland.
So what you need to do first of all is have a look at the Irish government's website, pettravel.gov.ie, and we'll put a link to that down below. So all this information that I'm going to tell you we've got from there. So we're assuming that this is perhaps your first time you're taking a pet abroad. What do you need to do? Well, your pet's got to be microchipped, okay, and that must be inserted into the dog, cat or ferret before you have your rabies vaccination. So the important thing to remember is you've got to make sure that the microchip can be read, okay, so because if you get to the port and it can't be read, then your
refused entry.
Dog, cat or ferret
could
be put into quarantine or refused entry, so that's very important. Right.
So Jenny is reading the notes here just below the camera, so in case you wonder what she's looking at.
Yeah,
it's a rather
I know.
a lot
I
to
want
cover.
to get the things right, so if you just let me... Right, so obviously they've got to be microchipped, then they've got to have a valid rabies vaccination, and the most important thing, like I say, is this must be given after the microchip has been inserted. The pet must be at least 12 weeks old, it must be given by an authorised vet, normally your own vet, and you must wait 21 days for the immunity to develop before you enter Ireland. Okay. The rabies vaccinations are valid within a 1 to 3 years. Some countries do 1 year, some countries do 3, but both are accepted by Ireland.
Now, Poppy's got a 3-year vaccination.
Yeah, yes, right. And the boosters must be given 1 or 3 years depending on the initial vaccination. So like we say, Poppy has got a 3-year one. The next thing, to actually go to Ireland, you must have an animal health certificate or a valid EU pet passport. Now, Great Britain's passports, ex-EU pet passports issued before January 2021 are no longer valid. Okay. Ireland accepts pet passports from Northern Ireland, all the 27 EU countries plus Andorra, Gibraltar, Greenland, Faroe Islands, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Monaco, Norway, San Marino, Switzerland and the Vatican State.
So it's good if you're
working
for the Pope.
The Pope can go, the animal health certificate, and it's normally on about 11 pages, has to be completed by a authorised vet. This time we're going to our own vet. It has to be signed by an official vet of the country of departure, so they have to be trained and they have to be able to do it, and it must be within 10 days of your pet's arrival in Ireland. Okay.
Right.
So, and immediate, this is something I read later and is very important, immediately on arrival in Ireland it must be signed and endorsed by an EU country performing a compliance check.
Okay, so if you arrive, when we arrive at Dublin, we've got to go in a particular lane for this compliance check.
That's right, So the animal health certificate is valid for 4 months travel within the EU, which is strange because we're only really allowed 90 days, aren't we? So Poppy could stay for 4 months, but we can only stay for 90 days. Or until her rabies expires. So if within that 4 months, if her rabies expires, then she can't stay. But you can enter a maximum of 5 pets on an animal health certificate.
Okay. So if we had a Tara was our pet, we could take
her. We could take her on the
same
one. That's right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I mean, the cost of them varies, doesn't it? These animal health certificates. We don't know how much ours is currently because
I know how much it was last time.
It's 215 from our vet, and we're going to use Abbey Well, aren't we?
Yeah, Abbey Well vets in Folkestone when we go to Denmark, but we've had to use our own vet this time because there's no vet near to the port.
Well, not that I could find, find one. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Poppy's going a few days before we've booked the appointment. And sent them all the information. You normally have to fill out a form, don't you, to tell them things about your pet.
We're actually picking that up the day before we leave for Anglesey, so it will be 3 days before we get on the ferry.
Yeah, Now the difference between going to Ireland and going to France, say, is your pet has to have a tapeworm pill treatment
Yeah.
before they go.
So before they leave the GB,
Yeah.
Great Britain, and go into Ireland, they have to have a tapeworm treatment. When you go to France, it's before you leave France to get back into Britain. You have to have a
That's right.
tapeworm treatment.
That's right,
So
yeah.
that's the difference.
Yeah, so there's only a few countries that don't have to do that if they're going to Ireland, and they're Finland, Malta, Norway or Northern Ireland.
Okay.
Okay?
So if you went in from Northern Ireland, you don't need to tapeworm treatment.
No.
Okay.
So if you live in Northern Ireland, you're going to... I'll come on to the changes to Northern Ireland in a bit.
All right.
Okay, so this must be done no less than 24 hours before you enter Ireland and no more than 120 hours, which is 5 days before. And it must be recorded on the Animal Health Certificate or the EU Pet Passport with the name of the product, the date of the treatment, the time of the treatment, and this has always been very important. It can't just say 10, it must say whether it's AM or PM. Because friend Annie Mee was refused when she came over from Belgium,
Yeah.
because they hadn't put which 10 o'clock it was. And
Okay.
it could have been
Could have been
outside the hours,
towards midnight, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it must have an official stamp and it must be signed by the vet. So you can only enter Ireland by ferry with a pet, Dublin Port or Rosslare. Okay? And yet to have what they call a compliance check. It also says on the Irish website that there may be special arrangements at the time of arrival, so always follow instructions given when you arrive, because things change, don't the rules change.
Yeah.
There's no compliance fees for pets arriving in Ireland from Great Britain. I believe there are from other countries.
Right.
Before you leave Great Britain, you must complete an online compliance check form, which is available at that link that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And this asks for things like the owner's name, the owner's phone contact and email, the pet's microchip number, the pet species, whether it's dog, cat or ferret, the arrival port, e.g. Dublin Port, the name of the ferry operator you're using, e.g. Stena, and the date and estimated time of arrival. So we did that a couple of weeks ago, and we got a reply back.
Yeah.
And what it's basically told us is, thank you for submitting the details of your pet arriving at Dublin Port. After you leave the ferry, please make your way to lane 4 for entering the customs area.
Okay.
And it says, please make sure you've got your hanger on display in your vehicle. On arriving in the customs area arrival, please follow the instructions of the customs officer who will direct you to the appropriate area.
Okay.
Please remain in your vehicle whilst in the customs area unless otherwise instructed, blah, blah, blah. And obviously what they're going to do then is they're going to check Poppy's animal health certificate, check she's got one, check it's completed properly, and they're going to scan her microchip. A bit like when you're going on the shuttle, you go into pet reception and they do all those checks, don't they?
So it'd be interesting to see if this actually happens, wouldn't it?
I think it probably does, yeah, because I'm in a Facebook group called Animal Health Certificate, believe it or not, and people have gone to Ireland, they say yes, they do check it when you get there.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So we had an email back, we did that in January. So we've covered what you need to do to take your pet to Ireland. What do you need to do to take your pet from Great Britain to Northern Ireland? Now there's some changes coming in, and they start in June 2025, so about 3 months from now, and they're part of the Windsor Agreement. So from the 4th of June 2025, if you live in Great Britain, so that's England, Scotland and Wales, you can benefit from the new Northern Ireland Pet Travel Scheme. Okay? So this scheme enables you to travel from Great Britain to Northern Ireland with a simple pet travel document. This lasts for the lifetime of your pet, so you don't have to renew it or anything, but you have to make sure that your pet's details, including their microchip number and their owner, are up to date before you travel. And you have to bring a digital or printed copy of this document with you. Interestingly, this says it includes a declaration that you will not travel onwards to Ireland or any other EU country with your pet or assistance dog. Now, we don't know what sort of checks there's going to be between Northern Ireland and Ireland because there's no border. So how they'll check that we don't know, and it doesn't say. Right, so each pet must have their own document. So unlike the animal health certificate, we can put 5 dogs on there. Each dog must have its own pet travel document, and it's valid for their lifetime. But if you change your details, you'll need to apply for a new one. So if you change your address or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so you should apply for one in advance of your journey as possible. It says it takes 5 working days for them to send it to you. So the applications for this are due to open in April 2025.
Yeah,
so we're recording in March, aren't we?
Yeah.
So next month this starts, and basically you need to be 16 or over, you need to be a resident of England, Wales or Scotland, you must be the owner or obtain written permission from the owner to travel. Now we don't know whether this means the same as we're faced with Tara, where if we wanted to take Tara with us to Denmark, we couldn't unless Alison her owner joined her within 5 days.
Right.
But we don't know whether this applies to this, do we, or not? No. So in most cases the owner will be the registered keeper. So you have to have a government gateway account, which we've both got because we file our self-assessments, don't we, through that?
Tax returns, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you've got to make sure your pet is microchipped, as we said, and the chip information is up to date and your address is up to date. You've got to provide your pet's microchip number, okay, and know the date when it was fitted or last scanned.
Okay.
You can ask your vet for all this information if you don't know it. And then the important bit that you have to sign is that you confirm that you will not travel with your pet into Ireland or another EU country using this scheme.
So, in other words, you have to have an animal health certificate if you're going into Ireland.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how well we read it, but like we say, we don't know. If you go to Northern Ireland under this scheme and you go into Ireland, you obviously, that doesn't cover you.
No.
So
No.
you must do as the current rules.
Okay. So the idea of this pet travel scheme is to make it easier for residents of Great Britain to be able to travel into Northern Ireland.
That's right, because initially it was going to be you needed an animal health certificate or a pet passport. I mean, Northern Ireland vets in Northern Ireland can still issue an EU pet passport, can't they?
Okay.
Because they're still in the single market. But people were travelling from Scotland, England and Wales were always requiring that. So, with a lot of travel backwards and forwards, it just didn't make sense. So the Northern Ireland Assembly stopped it, didn't it? Stopped all the checks.
Yeah.
But, whether this will start up by June, who knows?
Yeah, we don't know, but it seems a little bit simpler than the European travel schemes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay, so I hope you found this useful. I'm sure you've got a load of questions, and if you have, we probably won't be able to answer.
Well, that's where that link to the Irish website comes in.